It's a pleasure, and I'm honored to speak at the second coffee hour. And it wouldn't be coffee hour without coffee. And also, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone, whoever's Irish.
Yes, happy St. Patrick's.
Yes, yes, yes. So I will jump right in. I am very excited to be here. Let me see if I can get it to go on. Okay, so just a little about me, just really quickly, because this is about us as a collective. I'm originally from the East Coast. I've been out in LA for about 5 years now, and I just want to share my experiences. And I guess the best way to learn is to teach. And I think this is a good reminder for me as well, especially as we're all in the industry, and a good reminder for me to have a beginner's mindset and just come back to the basics. And it's a good reminder of why we're doing this and why we are in the industry and why we are creative beings. So that's a little bit about me. And then why I'm here is to just share a little bit about the process and processes of being in the industry, and just come together as a collective and just remind each other why we do this and why we create and why we act and why we want to do this crazy thing that's not a full-time job and just want to express ourselves the way we do. So whatever I say today isn't just specifically going to work for everyone or anything, because we're all different. We all have unique energies and everything like that. So everything that I say isn't a specific path to get where we all want to be, because it never ends. The journey never ends, and we're all on a our own paths with our unique energies. So whatever I say and whatever I say in stride doesn't mean it's the only path to get to level up in our careers. It's just kind of a basis of um, things of my experiences, and I'm sure some of you experiences along the way, and setbacks and successes. So what I find is that one path isn't going to work for everyone, and something that someone finds success in isn't going to work for the next person. So it's important to be your own self experiment, kind of an n=1 kind of thing. So you have to just start by doing what works with your uniqueness, because that's why people are going to um, connect with you, and it's not going to be everyone. You're not going to win everyone's approval. So that's just something important to get off the bat right away, that you're not here to get anyone's approval anyway. You're just here to get your own approval. So that's a really good place to start when jumping into the industry and as a creative being. Because if you're trying to win approval through your creativeness, it's not going to lead you anywhere, because you're constantly going to be trying to please people, and that's just kind of, people can sense that. And it's kind of it's kind of like when you go out on a date and you're like me, let's go on a second date, you know what I mean? So that's kind of, you just have to have your own self-love first. So that's why I put putting self-care first in the top of the template I have here, just because I think it starts with self-love. To give that away, you can only receive love as much as you love yourself. And when we talk about the industry and acting and stuff like that, um, if you don't take care of yourself first, how can you expect your work to show up as a loving journey and as your loving self? If you're constantly worried about, taking care of your mind and energy, and stress is a huge factor. So putting self-care first, and just knowing that you have to take care, we have to take, and by the way, I'm going to be using pronouns through this, whether I use us, your, me, him, her, you guys. um, Putting the mind and body first, just so that gets taken care of. And I'm really passionate about meditation and dealing with stress and everything like that, and that has helped me so much. And I feel like if we have a basis to kind of keep our bodies at a homeostasis, meaning like a natural calm receivership of a creative sense of self, we can just be so much more open to the world and inviting what we need in to, satisfy our souls. So we can be the most open when we want to go out and perform for other people, and we can have that shared human connection. So it's a good idea to just take a breath and realize that I want to create in a safe space, and I want to create openly, and I want to create as connected as possible. So that leads me to, how are we spending our time leading up to what we want to create? Are we spending it in a distracted state with our phones? Because everyone has that issue. Are we spending it watching Netflix when we could be creating something? Are we spending it, useless news with the current pandemic? Are we spending it, or are we spending it with loved ones and connecting and just living a creative life, getting outside, taking care of our bodies, taking care of our mind, our stress, everything like that? So I think that's a really good place to start and kind of sink in so we can get started with doing the work. There's a quote I have on my cell phone that says, it reminds me every time I pick it up and I look at the back, the wallpaper, I'm like, just put the phone down. It says, um, if you're not committed to anything, you're distracted by everything. So I think it's puts, if you put whatever you put your attention on, energy flows. So whatever we want to put our attention on, make it the primary focus, whether it's getting our mind right, our body right, just to get in a sense of being, to approach the work from that sense of openness. That's become really important for me, and it just makes a huge ton of difference. And then your work will be only as good as the energy you put into it, meaning that if you give yourself an hour to 2 hours to focus on, creating writing, or focusing on an audition, or connecting with the business side of acting, approaching, learning about through various websites like Variety or Deadline about the industry, just putting our focus on learning, I think we can start to get a sense of being open to receiving what has to be done to approach this creative process and focus on it, because that's ultimately what we want to. Our goal is to focus and be full-time creators. Our focus is to want to do this as a living. We don't want to have to do anything else. I mean, we may have side passions or something like that, but for most of us, we want to act and get paid for it full time. I mean, we're not ever going to be full time. We're going to be part-time actors, full-time creators, but that's the deal. Most of us want to live a life self-supported by a creative process. So yeah, I think that's important. Now, when it comes to approaching acting for the first time, why? I think it's a good reminder. Why did we choose this profession? Why did we choose to jump into something that we think is this something so magical that you see when you're young, and you see it on screen, you see it in plays, you see it in class if you started in class, and I think it's a good reminder to have that sense throughout your whole time, and it could change. For me, it's just every time I go somewhere that I get to be in front of a camera, I'm just like, I'm gonna have fun today. And that's my drive. That's my motivating underlying drive. I'm gonna have fun today collaborating with a group of people who is creating something from scratch in front of a camera or a commercial or something like that. It's fun. That's my underlying drive. I have fun doing this. And I think for all of us, our 4-year-old self or 5-year-old self is there dying to just keep going and keep creating, and we lose sense of our creative being from when we were 4 or 5. We get trapped in all the things we should be doing or could be doing, or all the things, how things should have worked out. I mean, all my friends from the East Coast, they're in their 30s and they're married and they have kids, and I moved to LA 5 years ago, and I have a girlfriend, and I'm just like, to each his own, but I've done so much more living than they could have ever done because they're stuck in their hometown. No offense to them at all. Shout out to my friends. um, our are we willing to invest the time and what it takes? This, everyone here knows, this takes time to dedicate our time. We're going to have to make sacrifices. I've missed a couple weddings for different reasons. I've missed family events. It sucks. It really does. But are you willing to invest the time if this is your passion and your dream? Um, and there's a time for letting go of this a little bit and going to the actual event. There's no, I mean, you have to feel it out what's right for you. But if you want to be really, really good and master your craft, you have to invest the time to really dive in and learn. Just approach any way you can, because that's what it takes to be a professional in this field. Is you just have to invest the time, and people will know. So, and then I wrote this down because I think it sparks a little hesitance in people, and um, I know a lot of people who had to move out of LA because of the pandemic, and I feel for them, and I hope they're creating wherever they are now. But how would everyone react if I said it will take 5 to 10 years to see any payoff from your work? I just want that to sit in a little bit, because when I first got to LA, my acting teacher said, "Give it 5 years," and I was like, "Okay, but I want to like go now." He's like, "No, give it 5 years," and I was like, "What do you mean by give it 5 years?" He's like, "Look, you're new to town. You're basically starting over. No one knows you here. You have to get new shots, get a new reel, connect a little bit with local casting directors and agents, and it takes time for all the casting directors to see your face. It takes time. It takes time to them to see your work. It takes time for them to trust your work. It takes time for them. Usually, when a casting director calls you in for the first time, they just want to see your face, see that you look like your headshot, and they want to see if you can act. Maybe you'll book the job, but it's basically like an introduction. You're basically sowing the soil to grow your garden. You're basically planting seeds into each person that brings you in or has you audition, so you can grow. So you can be like, this is my introduction. This is my introduction to you. You're a new person. I'm a new person. I'm meeting you for the first time. Maybe I book the job, or maybe it's just like, you'll remember me for next time. I once had a casting director when I first moved to LA. I told her, we had a small chat in the audition room. I told her I golfed. She's like, "What do you like to do for fun?" "I like to golf." I haven't heard from her. I didn't hear from her for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And she brought me back in. And you know how many people casting directors see. She asked me how my golf game was going. So they have amazing memories. They remember our faces. They remember us. They remember our energies. They're like so talented beyond reason. Casting directors, I give them so much praise, because they remember thousands of faces, and it's just crazy. They will remember you. They will. Okay, so getting started. I think it's important to, I don't want to say this, that we have to do this every day, but find something creative to do every day, or act every day, master your craft. It can be anything from looking at sides, reading scripts. If anyone has Actors Access, there's a Breakdowns Express. Look at sides and practice self tapes with a friend, or online, and just get in the practice of putting yourself on tape in front of a camera. Again, that's on Actors Access and the Breakdowns Express. You click sides, and there's a whole bunch of slew of shows currently casting, and you can just have fun with reading. And I think it's important to work on mastering everything that's going to have to go into this career, because starting out, we need experience, we need to learn, we need to keep learning. And I think it's important to jump right into a class and find a teacher or a mentor that's going to resonate with your value. And it's important to those classes. It's you throw a stone and you can find an acting teacher in LA. There's a lot of good studios. There's some people I feel like not talking down on anyone, but there's some teachers that I think just trying to make a quick buck. And I think you'll know that if you see a teacher say something like, I booked, I helped people book jobs, I you book jobs, or if they're claiming that they can help you work, I think that's kind of a red flag, because it's more of an exploratory um, process. No one teacher can help you. They can help you, but they can't make you book work. So I think it's important to find a teacher. I have a few recommendations for classes if anyone wants to reach out to me later. I really love a specific few in LA. Um, some of you have probably heard of most of them, but if anyone wants to know of my recommendations, just shoot an email. Um, and going on from there, I think it's, along with learning, it's important to just be a sponge and start living your life like an artist. All of us are creative beings. We see the world a little differently than the normal 9 to 5 people. We want this as a career. We want to express, be vulnerable. We want to make art. That's why we're doing this. We want to make art. We want to make people feel. And we provide the escape for people to come into our lives and just see the human nature, because a lot of people are scared to feel, and we give them permission. We give them permission to check out our story, and just it's amazing. It's part of the reason, like, why we do this is because the human connection and the story and everything like that. So the more we can start living like an artist, like viewing the world, like going outside and looking at a flower differently, like it sounds weird, but it's like, who stops and looks at stuff anymore? We can start doing that. We can start viewing people and engaging, and you can change a life just by smiling at someone. Like at the DMV, I smiled at the lady behind the counter because she was having such a shitty day. And she's like, you literally changed my day by smiling at me and saying thank you. Because you'd be surprised how many people just go about their day, whether they're on their phones or whatever. And it's just, I think we have to become conscious of where we are and what we're viewing, especially as we step outside into the world, and just keep creating with that mindset of like, just letting our minds wander. How many people let their minds wander anymore? How many times have we let ourselves be bored so we can imagine, use our imagination? We don't do that anymore as much because we're so inundated on social media and all that stuff. So just remember when we were a kid and nothing mattered, time didn't matter. We could run around in the park and play pirates and stuff like that, and nothing mattered. I mean, that's part of the reason why we got into this thing to begin with, so we can play. I think we have to come back to some sort of a baseline just to feel like an artist. Artist is expression, vulnerable expression, and it's important to practice that. Imagination is a practice. It's not something, it's something that we practice, that you can get better at imagination just by practice. It's a muscle. So I think it's important to use that. And then all experience matters, whether you're walking in the world, whether you're at a grocery store, whether you're at home alone, whether you're talking with a friend. There's human interactions we can bring into our work. So nature, anything like that, any self-experience you can bring into your work. Because again, everyone's energy is unique to them. So we're all going to see the world differently. We're all going to see auditions differently. So just try to bring you to the world and you to the work, because that's the most important thing. Okay, so moving on, talk about headshots and reels. The most important thing is to have I wrote down here, a present you picture. So the more likely you have a picture that looks like you currently, the more it just makes sense, right? We take a picture that looks like us in the current moment. Maybe your headshots are a year or two old and you still look like that. That's okay. But people have to see what you're going to look like on the day. People have to see what they're going to get. Um, Recently, more and more casting directors are asking for selfies right after they want to cast you. So I'm always like setting up the ring light. I'm like, okay, whatever, take a selfie. And it's just like weird because that's something new, like that's been coming into the audition process. Just because they want to see if you look like your headshot. They want to see what they're getting is what they see. So it's like, oh, okay, selfie, quick selfie, whatever, whatever. Um, so yeah, it's been a funny it's been a funny transition this past couple of years. Um, Lately, I've heard from my headshot photographer that it's okay to do a little charactery because it's kind of coming back in style. It used to be in the 80s, and now it's coming back in style. That a hint of a character. So if you're going in for a nurse or a doctor, just a hint of it. I kind of feel like if you're if you're a guy, if you're in a suit jacket and a tie, you can kind of get a doctory feel. Same for a woman if you're in like a suit coat, suit skirt, something like that. You kind of get a doctory feel. You kind of get a doctory lawyerish feel or professional, kind of like that. So I don't think it's too important to hit that on the nose. And I would say if there's any like facial hair for guys or hair change for girls that you know you're going to do, just get a separate selfie, or if you have a friend, or if you can set up a own professional kind of not studio, but set up just to get a quick picture of that and let them know what you'll look like if you have facial hair or if you have a hair color change, just so they can see that if, God forbid, if you grow out a beard or if you change your hair to brunette or something like that, so you have something that they can see. Okay, so an important thing is casting directors, producers, before they even meet you, they want to see how you look performing. And that's where reels come in. So I know it's tough sometimes to get footage when you act, whether it's an independent film, student film, anything like that. Um, so I'm going as far to say if you don't have a reel, it is okay to put yourself on a casting site and put up a self tape. I know that may be different from what people have heard before. I'm only saying it because we're in a new kind of industry right now where people just want to see how you look on camera. They understand that the past year and a half has been pretty hard on people. People can't afford to shoot reels. People can't get together to shoot reels necessarily. So self tape, a really well done self tape with your unique character traits of what you'd go out for, can present a good proof of work. So I think it's okay to have a really good self tape, one or two, really short, maybe a minute, minute and a half, on your casting pages. And think about it this way: if you're going in for an agent meeting, agents can see how you're going to audition. That's the biggest thing that agents want to see, because agents send you on auditions. And casting directors can see that too if they're looking on your page. So experiment with it. It's something to think about. You can add it to the end of the reel. You can have it as separate clips. I like to have two, one kind of dramatic, one comedic, kind of self-tape, just to see how. And it doesn't have to be, it's just an audition. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can have the script. You can look down. It's fine. It doesn't have to be fully memorized. It's just how you're going to audition, because auditions aren't the end product anyway. They're just auditions. You're presenting your uniqueness to the character you would play at the moment. So I think that's important to just have some. If you don't have a reel, just to have some sort of proof of you on camera that you can present, because that's the most important. People want to see your uniqueness on camera performing. And same goes for a special skill or ability. If you play guitar or if you play a sport, just get a quick clip of you doing that, because especially for commercials, they want to see if you have the skill. It can be 10 seconds of skill, and make that unique to, like, I golf. I have a golf video on my casting sites. So they just want to see that you have some, You don't have to be a master at it. Some people will want you to be a master at it, but you don't have to be a master at this skill. Just make sure you get yourself on video. If you play a couple chords on guitar, you can do that just to have proof that you can play. And then there are some reel companies that do reels if you were in the need of putting a reel together with a couple separate scenes. There's a few about town. I've worked with one through someone else to help them with a scene, but I've never worked directly with them. I would recommend it. It is a little pricey. I think it's upwards of about $1,000 to get 3 tailored scenes. They'll write it for you, shoot and edit. So you're basically getting what you're paying, I guess, because that is a lot of work for them to write, edit, shoot, all that stuff. So it can be valuable to have something like that if you want to go that way. And then again, scenes from short films, indie films, student films, if anyone has stuff like that. I remember my first reel was like 5 scenes from student films I did back when I was living in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And it was enough. I mean, you just need proof of you doing scenes and you doing performances on camera. And then commercial reel, if anyone's been in a commercial, I think it's important to have some of that too, because commercials generally bring out a different side of us, like a lighter side, a smiley side. Although we're selling a product, it's about the product. They still see us in weird situations, like at a barbecue, or like, that's not weird, but I don't know why I said that was weird. Like, I guess it's weird in the past year because no one's been to a barbecue, unless if you have, you're bad. I'm just kidding. But they usually put you in weird situations where your unique energy is coming out a little bit more. I remember I did a dancing one, and that one's currently being put on my current commercial reel. So that's just something fun to show them, that like unique energy of dancing and stuff like that. So this guy can handle a couple different versions if we throw something at him. Again, it's just proof that you're on camera. It's just proof that you're performing. So I would recommend a commercial reel too, if anyone has any commercials, or reach out to, if you've worked for EcomVids, reach out and put that on there, because you look good in the EcomVids light. They light you pretty good, so you'll look good on the studio. Okay, big topic coming up, submitting to agents. I recommend having everything in order before you even try, meaning good training, headshots look like you, a reel, skills video maybe, like we talked about. And it's just an experiment again. Everything's going to be an experiment with our unique timing, everything like that. So we'll start with finding agents. There's a couple good ways to find agents. Google, obviously, go right to the site. Backstage has a good resource. IMDb Pro has a good resource. If you just, I forget if there's like a tab to press down, but you can just literally search LA agents. I think they have a tab on IMDb Pro or Backstage, and it'll come up with a list. And you'll see their Pro number. I think it's I forget what the number is, the arrow that goes up or down or whatever. I forget what that number is called on IMDb. Star meter or something. Oh, that's for actors. But something about agents. But they have a list, and usually they'll have their website on the actual list, and they'll have a submission policy, whether they want a hard copy submission through the mail or whether they want an email submission with a short cover letter, headshot, your actors access link, your LA casting link. And a good tip, we'll get to it in a second, but a good tip my acting teacher gave me when I first submitted. We'll get to that in a second. So there is they'll have a submission policy, sorry about that. They'll have a submission policy on their website, to submit, whether electronically or hard copy. And when it comes to the cover letter, this is really huge because some people teach different things. What I find works best, cover letters, keep it short, precise. Agents are busy. Agents don't want to spend 3 minutes even reading 2 whole paragraphs in the body of an email. They don't give a shit that you're from New York and you moved to LA. They don't care about that you have a dog. They don't care what you do. They just want to make money. They want to build a relationship and make money with you. I'm not saying they're not human. They are human and they do care, but I'm just saying they want a business partner to help them make money. So what I find that works best is just saying a quick little intro. Hi, I'm so and so. I am a working commercial actor, and here's proof. Put in your link, and that's it. You may not hear back, you may hear back, but an important thing to say after that is follow up maybe a week, 2 weeks later with the opposite of what you submitted. So if you had to submit electronically, 2 weeks later, submit physically. So they have a physical presence in their office now of your headshot, of your cover letter. So that's important because you're establishing a physical presence in their office. It doesn't matter if they answer you, if they get back to you. They might get back to you in 8 months because they have a roster spot open up for your type. It could be 8 months. It could be a year. You never know. I would go even further. Maybe 2 weeks after the second follow up one more time with a postcard or a business card, just as another physical a reminder. You're reminding them that you exist, and it's not like throwing it down their throats. It's just saying, hey, I didn't hear from you. I just wanted to follow up. And the third one's just a small reminder. So now they have 2 physical copies of you in their office. And just think about it. No one does physical copies anymore. It's all digital. So when they have time now to open their mail, agents have time to open their mail because they don't want to go through 2,000 emails in a day. That's what people are submitting. They're submitting all digitally. Could you imagine sitting in your office for 9 hours, opening 2,000 hire me letters on your email? Can you just imagine that for a second? Yeah, I would be brain dead. I'd be like, oh my gosh. Be like, oh my gosh, this actor, like, cool, you came from Kentucky. Awesome. Like what do you do with that? That's just so just think about the physical presence you can get in their office now, because so many people are doing digital submissions that if you do a physical submission, you're ahead of the game because no one does that anymore. It's kind of a flop. We kind of flip-flopped where it was physical before, you'd have to send in a videotape. I never had to do that because I'm not that old yet, but you'd have to send in an actual cassette tape of your reel. Oh my gosh, we have it so easy these days. I'm so grateful for that. I hear horror stories about trying to get your demo reel via cassette tape to an office within a day. Just imagine. Uh, and one last thing for agents, never call because it's just unprofessional, unless if you're with the agent. Never call because it's just unprofessional because they're busy. They're making calls mostly all day with their current clients. And it would just come off as unprofessional if you called and like asked, hey, did you check out my submission? Just wondering. It would just come off a little desperate, I would say, and a little too forward. And agents spend probably the majority on the phone all day anyway. So it'd kind of be an interruption with their day to day. So yeah, that's kind of it, my submitting to agents kind of playbook. Again, something might work differently for everyone else. I just found out kind of what works right now with the current industry. And agents are always looking for new people anyway. Right now it's pilot season. So maybe in about 2, 3, 4 weeks would be a really good time to submit because they won't be as busy and they're always looking for new people. Trust me, always. You might not get a call back, but they're always looking for new people because the industry is dying for new faces. They're dying to see everyone. They're dying to see new people come in and light them up. It's just a part of people want new. People want to see new things. They want to see fresh faces, young faces, older faces. It doesn't matter. Everyone has a place in this industry. Okay. Moving on to communicate with industry pros. I don't spend a lot of time on this as much as I'd like. I'm starting to focus on it a little bit more because I think it is important. Just take a gander at Variety, Deadline, IMDb Pro, just to see which casting director is casting what and what show, just to get a sense of who they bring in for the show if you match their kind of likeness. I've never experimented with cold submitting to a casting director. Um, if there, I would say if there is a show you think you're right for, it wouldn't hurt to send a submission to the casting director. I don't know. It's still you're getting a physical presence in their casting office. You never know. Just something never know. And again, I said this earlier, your audition with any casting director is just sowing a seed. It's like a job interview, basically. You're just basically going in, you're greeting yourself, you're meeting a new person, and you're basically sowing a seed of uh, just you being in the. Here's a good one. Just you being in the room with a casting director, just you getting the audition is the win because you're getting seen. You're getting seen and you're getting to do what you love. You're getting to perform in front of these people. You're getting to share your experience of the script and tell a story in a short amount of time. It's pretty cool if you think about it. If you get in the audition room, it's a win. It's a win because you're getting to meet someone new. It doesn't matter if it's for a huge project or an indie film or a commercial. You're getting seen. These people are going to keep casting things. They're going to keep casting commercials. They're going to keep casting films. They're going to do it. If it's an indie filmmaker, they're going to work on another film, most likely. So you're sowing the seeds for your career because you're presenting your work to these people. So I think that's really important to have in mind. You're sowing the seed. And casting workshops, I've heard success with these. I know the whole thing happened a couple years ago where people were caught stealing money from actors. There are a few reputable ones. I can't remember the name. I know if anyone listens to the podcast, Audrey Helps Actors. She talks about workshops all the time because that's how she got started. Um, I don't think they're happening quite as much as they were, just because of the current times and everything like that. But it is a potential way to get your face in front of a casting director if it is reputable. Sometimes I'll see like my old acting studio that I took class in when I first got out here. They did some workshops where casting directors came. So it might be a good idea if you're part of a class that they do like workshops at the end of a class or something. Just when they invite casting directors in to see work or agents in to see work, that could be a potential good thing to get your face seen, your performance seen. So I'm not sure how that's working right now with the pandemic and everything like that. But that's a potential way. That's a potential way to get your work seen. Again, I don't know how reputable they are after everything went through, but I think SAG has a whole thing on that on their website. Okay, so the industry is constantly changing. We have all seen that with streaming in the past 7 years or so. It's just, I get caught in this all the time. I get caught in waiting around for a call to come in saying, I have an audition, or I have permission to go to set, or I have permission to, do work. And we can't sit around and wait because no one is coming to tell us to save us. No one is coming to tell us to act. No one will ever be like, no one will ever come rescue us to provide us with $1 billion contract, $1 million contract. No one's coming. No one is coming to give us that news. So it's important not to wait. It's important not to wait. It's important not to wait for permission to act. If we want to do this as a career, we have to keep getting better. It doesn't matter when we book our first job. It doesn't matter when we book our first commercial, our big break. I hate that saying, by the way, big break. It doesn't matter. We have to still keep it. Some A-listers, they'll work and then they won't work for a year, 2 years. It's just part of the business. We can't wait for the call. We have to keep creating ourselves. That's why I like to tell everyone to just write something. Write a small 60-second sketch that you think you'd be awesome for. Like, I don't care if it's a monologue, writing anything artistic to keep your juices flowing, because you never know when the next opportunity is going to come. But we can't wait for it. We have to take control of our creative destiny here. You know, it could be a dry spout for 6 months. Did you just sit around and wait for something to happen, or did you make something happen with your? We all have creative expression. That's what I'm trying to say. We don't have to wait for it. We don't have to wait to actually do it. Take a class, take photography, do whatever you like to do, your side passion, because we all have passions other than this too. You know, explore something else. I always find that when things are slow and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try something else here. I'm gonna focus on photography or writing or something. I always find when I start diving into something else, the acting side comes right back up, because you're so focused on the creative work that the acting side comes up too, and it matches that because you're focusing on creating anyway. So it's kind of like a universal thing of like, hey, I'll show the universe. I'm not waiting around. I'm going to create, I'm going to write something. I'm going to create a web series. I'm going to create a short film. And then the universe matches it with like, okay, here's some cool opportunities while you're doing that. And you'll have to make a decision if your time's worth it, if you want to keep creating, if you want to audition. It's a cool thing. I always find that's the case. It's funny. And again, just focus on um, creating our own work and staying creative, because no one's coming to save you or coming to tell you to act. No one's coming to tell you to perform. And I put master the self tape under this one because it's the new norm, right? The self tape is the new norm. There's no way to get around it. I mean, I feel bad for casting directors because it can put them out of business potentially if directors just want to go right to a self tape and ask people. But I hope that doesn't happen, because casting directors are special, and usually they're in charge of getting everyone in the room in front of a camera. Excuse me, putting on tape. Um, there's self tape classes. I would just get up and practice as soon as you can. Most important thing about self tapes is good light, good sound, good setup, blank wall. About this frame that I have, mostly medium shot. Um, and it's a different energy. People have opinions. It's a different energy when you're in the room. It's a different energy on tape. I love being in the room because there's nothing like showing your energy to someone in person. But when you see just a screen of someone, you don't get the same energy. Even on Zoom, when self tapes or callbacks happen on Zoom, it's just not the same. You kind of have to come at through the screen to the people viewing, because they have to see your unique energy, and then they have to see the energy you bring to the piece. Um, I was doing callbacks for a project I was working on with someone else. I was helping them out on their project. And I would say 9 out of 10 people fell flat on the screen. The only reason I say that is because it's so important to have your energy come through on Zoom, because it's so different than being in person. So different. I'm not saying you have to go overboard on the acting, you don't. But when you're greeting someone, and there is a unique energy that you can bring through the screen. So that's where we're headed. I mean, it's just so much easier to have auditions and self tapes go in than bring everyone in across town. Eventually, producers and the director will want to meet you in person. So if you make it that far, you will be seen in person. So Really important to master the art of the self-tape. Connection's important, listening's important. Here's the thing about self-tapes that most people put aside or forget about. It's not about the words on the page. It's about the moments in between the words. Just think from a director's perspective for a second. Directors want to cut to reactions. Editors, directors. If you're staring the whole time on a self-tape, you look dead inside. There has to be an invitation to feel, to see what's going on behind the eyes, to see what's going on underneath when you're listening. What are some of the greatest moments in film? When they cut to a reaction shot of someone listening. So we want to see that. We want to see how deeply it affects you. We want to see how deeply it affects you, because that's interesting. I could care two shits about what someone has to say, but I know when I'm really listening because it affects me. It puts me in a different state. I'm allowing it to come in. And I think that's important to remember, because we get so caught up in saying the words. Yes, Michael.
Oh, just wanted to let you know that we do have 15 minutes left. So sorry to cut you short, but I do want to allow some time for our other talents to ask any questions for you during this time. So feel free, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type it in the chat, and then Bruce will address each question, and then you can unmute yourself to talk to him if you want. But yeah, if anyone has questions, Bruce is here to answer them for you.
Please, I would love some questions.
Yeah, I think hopefully, yeah, if you guys have any, oh yes, Kristen. You can unmute yourself, Kristen, if you want to ask your question.
Yes.
All right, yeah, that's probably easier. I was trying to type it fast. So I had a question, Bruce. If when you're signed with your agent, right? So I have an agent and I really like him, but it doesn't seem like I get a lot of additions. So I'm doing a lot of self-submissions, through Actors Access and Casting Frontier and such. I'm linked to him, which is great. But I just wasn't sure, is that normal to not get a ton from your agent, especially in the beginning, and just be happy you have an agent? And the second part of that question is, do you bug them if you just kind of check in? Like, I usually try to check in if I get something that he didn't help me book. So letting him know, like, hey, I got this. It's pretty cool, type of thing. And then I always mail him a Christmas present, of course. but yeah, I just wanted to know your thoughts on that. Like, how do you know you're with the right agent, I guess?
Really good question. Can I just ask, how long have you been with your current agent?
Going on 2 years.
2 years. And how, let's just X out the last year, just X out the year before that. How often would you say he got you out?
Probably a couple times, like probably 1 or 2 times a month at most. If it was a good month. If it was not a great month, it might have been I wouldn't hear anything for 60 days, and then all of a sudden I get 2 or 3 additions. But I usually get like 12 hours notice type of thing. But I do every single one I get.
Okay. I'm gonna say it's a gut feeling. If you don't feel like you're getting out as much as you can, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to your agent and checking in, because it's a business partnership. So you want to make sure you're doing good business. There's nothing wrong with reaching out every couple weeks just to make sure he's submitting you. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So never feel like you're bothering him. You're in charge of that, because you're as powerful as he is in that scenario, because you're the one going on screen. You're only giving him 10 15%, 20%, whatever it is. You're the primary benefactor here. So there's nothing wrong with reaching out as much as you want. You just want to make sure he's submitting for you. Sorry, I'm like looking at your box on the screen. So I'm like trying to talk to your headshot. But I would say it's a gut feeling. 2 years is a pretty long time. I mean, that's actually really good. But if you feel like you want to pursue other options, there's nothing wrong with. The world's not going to end if you drop your agent, and keep self-submitting. Keep self-submitting and letting him know that you're getting these opportunities.
Okay, and
Okay.
the other part of that question, Bruce, is so let's say you want to kind of, I guess, I hate to say this, but like, you know, look around, right? Like see other options for agents. Is that bad to do if you already have an agent, or if you want to kind of shop around?
I don't think it's bad to do. I would just say if you get it, it's like an interview for you too. If you want to shop around for agents, by all means, go ahead. You're at the 2-year mark. You have a say. You can drop him whenever you want. I mean, he's not in control of anything. You can drop him whenever you want. And if you have an offer from something you think is going to be better, why not? Does that answer?
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much. My biggest question was I wasn't sure how often I didn't want to bug them. You know what I mean? So I wasn't sure what that looked like. So that's great.
You're as well as a business partner as he is. So
Okay.
it's an ongoing. It has to be an ongoing communication. I mean, how else would your agent know that you want to communicate unless you communicate? It's like a relationship. You want to communicate your needs.
Got it. Nope, I love it. That was helpful. Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah, never be afraid to reach out because you're in control.
All right. Melinda had a question. If you want to unmute Melinda to ask her question.
Oh,
Okay.
Melinda, hi.
Hi, how are you? I had the pleasure of working with him. It's the most fun commercial I ever did.
Yeah. You guys
But no, I just was trying to say he was about to talk about, or you're going to mention SAG. And what I'm always hearing is that those days for those of us who are, both have an agent and submitting for ourselves, it's not so important anymore because so much non-union work is out there. But I just wanted to hear, I guess, your quick answer on what your take is on it. And I don't know if you're in SAG or not.
I'm currently SAG eligible.
Oh,
I will say, and there's kind of a two-sided answer. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The one is if you're SAG eligible or non-union, there's no rush. There is no rush whatsoever to get into SAG.
That's what I've heard.
Time will come when you're ready. You'll know when you're ready, by the way. You'll know when it's time to join. I'm not SAG yet. I'm SAG eligible, but I know when the right thing comes along. And you're right, the 90% of commercials now are non-union. 90%. It's kind of sad.
Yeah.
The union, they want to have their say in commercials, but 90% is non-union. So if you are non-union or SAG eligible, you're actually at a perfect place to keep booking.
That's what I heard.
Commercial work. And for the theatrical side of it, I think SAG eligible is also probably the perfect place you can be, unless if you're already SAG, because if they cast you, all you have to do is sign up, and join, and then there's like a payment plan, so you don't even have to drop $3,000 right away. It's not like you have to. You'll be a must join, of course, but there's like a payment plan. You don't have to be like, oh, $3,000. So, yeah.
Okay, good.
But
Thanks.
there is a reason for both sides. There is, should I stay non-union or go union? And if you have that problem, it's actually a good problem to have because you're at a good place that if you were to get hired on a SAG production, and again, that's your choice. Do you want to sacrifice non-union are you ready to sacrifice that? Because you will have to turn down jobs unless if you work off the card, which is looked down upon.
Well, doesn't it guarantee higher pay though to be in SAG?
If it's a SAG project, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks.
Of course.
All right. Sherry has a question. If you want to unmute yourself, Sherry, to ask it.
Hi, Michael. Thank you. And thank you for having me. Such great information. I really appreciate what you're sharing with us. I hadn't heard of a separate skills tape. So that really entices me because we want to stand out. We want to pop. We want to showcase what we're good at doing because we have some skill at it. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you present that either to your agent or in your submissions? You have a reel and then a separate skills tape, or you tag it, or it's a button at the end?
I would do both.
Oh,
If you're looking at a skills, if you're looking at a skills tape,
yeah.
usually there will be an option to tag it to whatever skill you list on the casting site. Like you can tag it to, like, say for me, if guitar, I can tag it to the actual guitar on, I think it's LA Casting or Actors Access. You can tag it to it.
I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, but I would have it as a separate clip.
Okay.
Or tag maybe like a 5 to 10 second video at the end of your reel. Because if they're already watching your reel,
Right.
watch it all the way through, they're going to see it anyway. But if they have a separate clip, they can just look at that separate clip of a 10-second thing and be like, okay, she can do that.
Right. Right.
So I would experiment, just do both, or just
Yeah.
do,
And on your skills, like for instance, I play piano, or like some other things like, I don't know, like kickboxing or, whatever. Do you have just one skill, or do you have like maybe three? What's your, because in a reel, you have a couple clips. What would you say is your go-to standard for a skills? Just to add it, so we stand out.
I would do separate clips.
Oh, okay.
I would do separate clips for skills if you're going to film multiple. Because
one highlighting each.
It's not every day they're going to want a soccer playing, golfing piano.
You're right.
You know what I mean? It'll add, if they see your piano clip and they're like curious and they're like, oh, she can also do yoga, it just adds another human element. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they want to click, they'll click.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just think in their mind for a second. Do they want to take the time to view a minute video of four different skills, or
right? I'll kind of feel like dancing bear or something. Yeah. So, okay, so I'm gonna research the LA Casting because I think I'm kind of remembering you can add something on each of your skill sets. I appreciate your time and expertise. Thank you, Michael, for this opportunity.
Of course. And then we have, I think, one more question from Paula Lee. So if you want to unmute yourself and ask it.
Okay, there we go. This goes back to the agent thing. I had an agent, and when we met, it was great. We just hooked up. It was fine. We talked about everything that needed to be done. And one of the questions I never asked was, did I need to, put in self-submission? And when they would pop up, I would send him an email. So I'd send it to him and I'd say, should I, I need to know, do I need to do self-submissions? He never answered. He never answered one time. And I just kind of got frustrated with that. And I didn't know what to do with it. Eventually, I just left him, said, well, guess that's it. And boy, he responded right there when I said, send him an email and said, I'm sorry. You feel that way. Good luck. And that was the end of that. So.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a bad working relationship, that he wasn't taking the time to reach out to you. That's not commendable.
Well, thank you for validating that, because I thought, did I really do the right call here? You feel insecure about it.
Never try, and I shouldn't say never because it's natural human feeling. Try not to be insecure about ever having to drop anyone, because you're in charge of who you want on your team. This is about you first.
Thank you. Yeah, well, it is, and it's my business. Exactly. It is a business, and you have to treat it like a business. And if somebody's not communicating with you, there's a big problem there, I see.
big gap there. I mean, you have to be in charge of that. Don't ever feel bad about communicating with your agent, because you're just trying to find out information and build the relationship over time.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that.
If
Thank
he
you very
was if he was commendable, he would have done the same thing. But it sounds like
Yeah,
can't put words in his mouth, but it just sounded like he wasn't invested.
yeah. Apparently not. So,
Yeah,
well, thank you, Bruce. Thank
of
you.
course. Of
All
course.
right. I think that wraps up our questions section. So just to finish this off, thank you everyone for coming to our second coffee hour. Thank you, Bruce, for guest speaking today. Give it up for him. And Bruce, can you let everyone know where they could follow you on social media? Just so everyone can network with him if you have any further questions to reach out to him.
Sure. Spend most of my time on Instagram if I'm doing social. So it's just at Bruce Clifford, my name, and then underscore. And then if anyone has any follow-up questions or just wants to reach out for anything else, my email is my name, Bruce Clifford, the number 16 at Gmail.
Awesome. And you can also find his social media on the event page, as well as we'll leave it on the Facebook page if anyone didn't get that right now. But other than that, thank you everyone so much for coming through. It was a pleasure to have you, Bruce, at the second coffee hour. And we hope to see everyone at the next one next month. So
Yes.
have a great day, everyone.
Wait, let's take a picture.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Everybody
Yes.
show your cameras. Just if
Turn
you
on
want
your
to.
cameras, everyone. We're gonna take
Turn on
a
your
My camera
cameras.
isn't working, Nikki. I can't get it to work. I don't know what's up.
no, it's
Yeah.
It's okay. I can see your headshot. It's beautiful.
Okay.
okay.
Thank you, Nikki.
All right. I'm going to take a picture in 3, 2, 1. Cheese. Okay, got it. Thanks, everyone.
Good to
Bye.
see you.
Bye.
Great day, everyone.
I'm waving.
Oh, I missed it.
Woo.